James wiped the grease from his hands onto his already stained coveralls, staring at the hulking mass of alien metal before him. The ship squatted in his hangar like a predator, waiting to strike all sharp angles and dark, iridescent plating that seemed to shift colors in the dim light. He'd bought it at a salvage auction for next to nothing, mainly because nobody else wanted the cursed thing. "You're insane," Arya had told him when he'd showed her the purchase order. She was his best friend and the station's most skilled navigator, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "That's a Vareth warship. Those things are bonded to their pilots. Without its original owner, it's just a very expensive paperweight." James had grinned at her. Or it's the deal of a lifetime. Now, standing before the silent vessel, he wasn't so sure. The Vareth were a conquered species, their empire crushed decades ago by the Galactic Coalition. Their ships were legendary fast, deadly, and utterly loyal to their chosen pilots. The problem was that once bonded, they wouldn't accept anyone else. Dozens of mechanics and pilots had tried to crack the interface systems. Most failed. Some died. James approached the ship's hull, running his hand along the cool surface. Immediately, the metal warmed beneath his touch, and a ripple of light cascaded across the plating. He jerked his hand back. "Easy there," he muttered. "I'm just trying to help." The ship's entry ramp descended with a pneumatic hiss, revealing a darkened interior. James glanced back at Arya, who stood by the hangar entrance with her arms crossed, clearly skeptical. "If I'm not out in 10 minutes, call station security," he said. "If you're not out in 10 minutes, there won't be anything left to secure," she replied, dryly. Inside. The ship was unlike anything James had ever seen. Human vessels were utilitarian, built for function. Even the fancier alien ships he'd worked on had a certain logic to their design. But this was organic and mechanical fused into something almost alive. Veins of bioluminescent material pulsed through the walls, and the command chair looked less like a seat and more like a throne carved from obsidian. James settled into it cautiously. The moment he did, restraints snapped across his chest and wrists. Panic flared in his chest as the ship's systems roared to life around him. No, he started. But then the neural interface activated. It wasn't like the clumsy brain-computer connections humans used. This was total, overwhelming immersion. He could feel the ship's engines like his own heartbeat, sense the structural integrity of every plate and rivet, taste the recycled air in the life support systems. The ship's consciousness brushed against his mind, not hostile, but cautious, wounded, unworthy. A voice echoed in his thoughts. "Not warrior. Not Vareth." "You're right," James thought back, forcing himself to stay calm despite the restraints. "I'm not Vareth. I'm human. I'm just a mechanic from Earth who fixes broken things. Nothing to fix. Bond broken. Pilot dead. Purpose ended." James felt the ship's grief, then decades of mourning for a pilot who had died in the final days of the war. The vessel had been salvaged, passed from collector to collector, but had never accepted another soul. It was dying slowly, its systems degrading without purpose. "I get it," James thought. "You lost someone important. But you're not dead yet, and neither am I. Maybe we're both just looking for a second chance." The ship's presence probed deeper, examining his memories. James didn't resist. He let it see his childhood on Earth, the endless hours in his father's garage learning to coax life from dead engines. The day he'd left home to work the stations, chasing adventure and freedom among the stars. His friendship with Arya, built on trust and shared dreams of exploring the galaxy. The restraints released suddenly, and the neural interface gentled to a manageable connection. The voice in his mind had changed, still alien, still proud, but curious now. Human, weak species, fragile bodies. Yeah, we're not winning any strength competitions, James agreed aloud, rubbing his wrists. But we're stubborn, and we don't give up on things just because they're broken. Outside the ship, Arya had begun to worry. 15 minutes had passed. She was reaching for her communicator when the ship's engines suddenly fired to life with a sound like rolling thunder. The entire hangar shook. The vessel lifted smoothly from the deck, its movements precise and graceful. It rotated in place, and Arya could see James through the cockpit viewport, grinning like a maniac. The ship's exterior plating rippled with colors she'd never seen before: electric blues and vibrant purples, mixing with the original dark green dot. James brought the ship down gently and emerged from the ramp, his eyes bright with excitement and something else, a connection deeper than he could explain. "Well?" Arya demanded. "What happened?" "We came to an understanding," James said. "Turns out the ship didn't need a warrior. It needed someone who'd care about keeping it alive." Over the following weeks, the station watched in amazement as James and his ship became inseparable. The vessel responded to him with a precision that shouldn't have been possible for a non-Verith pilot. But more than that, it seemed ... happy. The plating gleamed. The engines hummed with renewed vigor, and occasionally, pilots swore they heard the ship purring in the hangar. Arya finally understood when James explained it to her one evening. Both of them sitting on the ship's ramp watching the stars through the hangar's atmospheric shield. "The Verith made their ships for war," he said. "But war ended. Maybe that's what it really needed, not another warrior, but someone who saw it as more than a weapon." The ship rumbled beneath them, a sound of contentment. "Humans," Arya laughed, shaking her head. "You people will befriend anything." James smiled, patting the deck plating affectionately. "Yeah, we're good at that." Above them, the ship's lights pulsed in gentle, rhythmic patterns, a heartbeat synchronized with its new pilot's own.